Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
NEP
sir.
was launched last year, 2020, amidst pandemic, where at one place where we were struggling to ensure students to get access to the digital education, this policy provided a paradigm shift in education, a clear uplift for literacy and employment. This policy covered ensuring universal access at all levels of school education, early childhood care and education with new curricular and pedagogical structure, attaining foundation literacy and numeracy, reforms in school curricula and pedagogy, multilingualism, power of language, and whatnot. Today, we have gathered here to discuss a step ahead on the NEP in our topic, reimagining academic pedagogy after NEP problems and solutions. Joining me today are our esteemed panelist, Ms. Renu Singh, Principal, Shalom Presidential School, Gurugram, Ms. Oshima Mathur, Principal, Navi Children's School, Delhi, Ms. Ashu Arora, Principal, Central Academy, Alwar, Dr. Priya Shrivastava, Principal, Euro International School, Sector 109, Gurugram, and Ms. Puneet Kaur, Army Public School, Jammu. I welcome each of our esteemed panelists today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So starting the discussion with Renu ma'am, with you, what do you think, how NEP has benefited the student or it will be benefiting the student in the long run? What is your take?
Okay, thank you, Sachin sir. Very good evening to one and all. I would like to say that I feel privileged to be on this platform with the other academicians and educational leaders to discuss such an important topic, NEP 2020, which is already, it has been talk of the town, and we all are going through again and again through this policy. But I feel, again, there is a need to discuss in depth to understand better. So that is why I feel sharing views, actually, it is going to help all of us in a different way. So as I have given a stipulated time, so I would like to wind up. So the topic is anyways very vast, but I would like to wind it up in a stipulated time, which is provided to me. The very first and foremost thing which I would like to highlight here, that is the equitable and inclusive education, which is the part of NEP, where a lot of emphasis is given to this special part. How come the education is equal for all? And earlier, how it was different, how it has changed. The drastic change, the massive change has been taken place, wherein it is for all, and it will bring a change in the entire education system. And as an outcome, there is no dropout. Dropout rates will be decreased for sure. This is an outcome which we can see in coming future days. So irrespective of urban, rural, or maybe the learning disabilities, the children who are facing these kind of challenges, earlier they had a different, they were categorized, but now they will be learning under the same roof and the same atmosphere. So this is one very positive change which we can see. The second change which I would like to highlight is it will prepare all the students for 21st century. Now, when we are talking about 21st century, most of the schools are, following experiential learning. We do experiential learning in our school, but now it is made mandatory through NEP. So NEP has brought so many other aspects wherein it focuses on innovative way of learning, critical thinking, holistic way of learning, and it is more of a learner-centered kind of, education. So again, there is a kind of, the students are not bound with the kind of stream. So there is, we are removing the, restriction on the courses which students used to select. Now there is a lot of liberty given to the students, so they can opt for their skill-based subject, which will start from 6th upwards, and they will excel in that area where they have their interest see through. So this is again something which is very positive, and there is no difference between vocational and academic stream. So this is all again will take you to a new direction. Third, which I would like to highlight here, is it stresses on the idea of conceptual learning. understanding. So conceptual learning means it is more of a practical approach wherein students will go through a lot of project-based learning, case studies, hundreds of ideas are floating, and we have to just implement it thoroughly in a proper way. So at least it will remain for a longer period. So here, if I have to just say the outcome, if I have to just look through, I can say that rote learning will be minimized. It will be a part of it is necessary. Rote learning is somewhere it is necessary, but yes, it would be minimized. And definitely we can see that whatever they are learning by doing, by so many other ways, which are known as kind of holistic growth. Now, the next point which I would like to highlight is reform of the pedagogical structure, which is again something very interesting. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which is going to replace this 10 plus 2 structure. In this, what is the benefit in this structure is what I can see, and everybody can see, that formative years, the initial foundational years have given a lot of weightage, lot of importance, and wherein FLN, which we call the foundational year of learning, literacy, and numeracy. So those things are taken care, and multilingualism, wherein the mother tongue is the power of language, will be incorporated. So here, what is the concept? The concept is making the concept clear. So it is of conceptual learning in the formative years, the foundational years. So at least the base is strong. So here, mother tongue is also very much important, but again, it is not made as such mandatory. It is for the state-wise, there is a liberty which is given to the schools. So, but again, if the school wants to use mother tongue or the state languages, they can implement for the same. This is something, again, I see a lot of positive approach in going through the foundational learning and literacy and numeracy approach. Now there is next is NEP, which emphasizes on multidisciplinary learning. Multidisciplinary learning brings vocational training and academic, both the curriculum together. There is no separation. Equal weightage is given to both the streams, and the child can opt for skill-based subject, and he can excel in that particular as per the career aspect. He can grow better if it's of his interest. So there is a lot of, again, scope for the children and learners, so they can grow. They can do very really well. Now there is again something which is competency based. We have heard about now earlier it was like only the learning in different way, more of a very conventional way. Now it is competency based. Why it is competency based is important? Because here practical approach is highlighted. More of a practical approach, more learning by doing. Again, we are talking on the same line, because here we are concluding through experiential learning. When the child learns by doing something, learning by doing, that remains forever. That is something, again, very great. And one more thing, because there are so many points, so I can just jot down the few which I am going to speak. Two more points I will highlight. For higher education, I'll just wrap up a little faster. Higher education, if we have seen the structure, which is undergraduate structure, is also, instead of 3 years, it is now 4 years. The fourth year is for the research work. So, and here they have created a lot of exit areas also. Even the child, if he wants to go for 1 year program, he can take the certificate, go for 2nd year program, he can go for the further diploma, and then followed by the same degree. But again, there is a change in the entire program. This is one thing. Last, not the least, I would mention here, there is one policy, there is a proposal which is known as academic bank credits. So here again, the children will, they can just have those credits in their bank, and which will be benefited in future for them. This is already practiced in so many advanced countries, but I think when it is implemented here in the right way, definitely it will benefit all the students. I'm just concluding the entire, I would say this is not a incremental policy, but it is a transformational policy, lot of holistic approach, and we all need to do one thing, that we need to implement it very seriously. And so at least we can say that there is a overhauling of the entire education system, and I look forward. Thank you for listening to me, and
really appreciate your points about the conceptual learning and the credit bank, and would love to come back to you with the more question. moving towards to Oshima ma'am, how are you implementing NAP at your schools? Maybe you can share some highlights on the subjects which are in demand, how students are liking it, your thoughts on it, and then Dr. Priya, to you after that.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin. So, in line with the thought of NEP, in our school we generally believe in cultivating the life skills of cooperation, teamwork, empathy, resilience. So, all this needs to be done in a formal as well as a non-formal plan. So, with that, we have a club system, which we don't want to bore our children. We don't want to feed in information and make them into a hard disk full of knowledge. So that will not do any good to anybody. So we want to creatively engage our children. For that, we have subjects like pottery. We have various languages. We have photography. We have robotics. So these subjects are in much demand. Aero modeling, children run after it. So these subjects are there. They're a part of our co-curricular activities, and a dedicated 2 hours are spent every week on each of these subjects, and it's the child's choice. So it's not that everybody has to do everything. Some children can choose Munch and Crunch, some children can choose soft skills, which is etiquette training. Like in my school, I have a very diverse kind of a population. Children come from Navy, all sections of Navy. So there are children who get the best facilities at home, but all of them don't get so also. So we need to provide all of it in school. There has to be this gap needs to be filled up by giving them the exposure in school. So what we generally do is we try to involve them into activities which interest them, so that they get into it. Similarly, if you talk about new subjects, we have AI, which the artificial intelligence. This is children really like this. They are very much interested in, especially because they know about the subject. A little bit is known to them already, like the computer. They know of it more than us. So, and seeing the learning crisis, like World Bank also talks about, 95% of our children who go from 6 to 14, who go to school, they don't even know the basic maths. The reading skills are so poor that class 5 children are only able to read of the level of class 2. So for that, we lay a lot of stress on reading in our school. So we have reading clubs. Similarly, we have satellite libraries, which the concept of having a library very near to you in the environment. So we tell our young mothers also in the school, in the primary section, we tell these mothers that don't worry about the mess that is created at home with the books. Let the books be all around the children. They will grab it. If they are there in the vicinity, if they're there in the environment, they will grab it. So once you force learning, once you force reading, they will not take it. They will develop a defense mechanism to it. So don't do that. Let it be there. Like they grab the toy, let them grab a book. So similarly, we have reading club in our school, and it's a hit. So I think it's our I would call it an obligation, not just responsibility, that we make reading a very, very important habit which the children need to imbibe. So like this, these are a few things I wanted to lay stress on. Along with artificial intelligence, we offer painting, we offer computer applications, we also offer elements of business studies, especially to our CWS and category students. So these subjects are wonderful subjects, and they add a lot of value to the life of student.
Very nice. And to your comment on the books spreading around here and there, yesterday itself I told my son to ensure it is everything there and on the place. But after listening to you, maybe I was wrong, and I have to continue encouraging him. Whatever he is doing on the dining table, let it be spread over there.
Yeah, it's my humble request to everybody, all parents. Like it has worked for my kids, I tell you, and it works for everybody. If the books are around, they will grab it, and if it's stacked nicely. Yeah, so if it's stacked nicely in a cupboard, then you won't like to disturb that arrangement. Let it be there. Nice, so we should be cautious.
True. Dr. Priya, your comments.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon to all the panelists who are here. So there's a topic which has been given to me. It is that how are you going to implement this NEP in the school? So definitely it is a really a vast topic how to implement it. But first of all, I would like to thank this National Education Policy that they have brought a major, they have taken a major step to change the existing academic sector. And this entire thing has been done just for the holistic development of the school or the holistic development of the child. Here in our school also, we are, continuously following this, we are focusing onto this and we are working into it. And the way we are working, it is like in the form of the art integration program, or you can say in the subject enrichment activity or the activity-based learning, or we are developing the skills. This is the teaching learning process or the method which we have opted in the school, and that is included into our curricular as well as in the extracurricular activities. When the child is coming to the school, we know that each and every child is unique. They have got their individual interest for the subjects. So before implementation of any of the policy, first of all, we have to, identify the students in which area they are interested in. And for that, we have to work harder. Like suppose we have seen that, yes, these are the group of students who are interested in art and craft. So we have to frame the curriculum according to it, that we are doing it. And in that case, we are making that particular subject much more interested to the student by different ways of learning. And here what I think with this policy, not only the teachers of the school, parents also play a very vital role, because it is a triangular relationship everywhere which is working, that is between the teacher, parent, as well as the child. Now, whenever we are selecting the child, now the selection of the teachers, that has also been changed. Now we have to see whether they are knowledgeable enough, whether they are able to impart that particular education to the student, whether it is in offline or in online mode, which we're going to discuss this later on. And secondly, whether they have got all that particular or the relevant degrees or not. So this is the first way that where if you want to implement any of the policies or any of the changes, first of all, the selection of the teacher is also very much important. Secondly, we have to be in touch with the parents. Like in which subject the child is interested. Suppose the parent comes and tell my child is very good in science or blah, 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 any other subjects. So in that case, we have to be in touch with the parents time to time. And this we are doing it through PTMs or through the virtual, platforms where we are updating about the student to the parent, as well as we are taking the feedbacks from the parent itself. So this is like before implementation, what all things we have to do it. Now, if I'm talking about the implementation, few years back, or when we were the student, we used to hear from our parents, science le lo. You can just study science because science is a subject where there's a scope. Or suppose if the child is not interested in science, he or she is being offered to take, okay, you can go for commerce side or you can go for art stream, because there was actually the scope was not there. But now, thanks to this national education policy, where they have, started with the vocational skills, that too from class 6 onwards, a number of subjects are there. Child can go for art and craft, pottery, as ma'am said. They can opt for pottery. They can go for the computer clubs. So what we are doing it, we have segregated our students, and on Saturdays, every Saturdays, we have divided them into different clubs. Though we are training our teachers also. See, sir, actually, this is the ongoing process. The day NEP was being implemented, it's not like that everything will go in a smooth way. Definitely, we all are working, we all are into the progressive way. We all are thinking how to, get the best out of it. So we have segregated this into different 5 or 6 clubs, where the teachers, they are going into those clubs, training the students, and whether it is in the pottery side, whether it is in the computer side, whether it is in the art and craft, or fine arts. So in these different, we have seen, because right now the offline or online, it's like both the modes are going on. So still, we have segregated out the students, and accordingly we have formed the groups or the clubs. So every Saturdays we are having these type of club activities where the students, they are learning something or the other. And end of the same is every quarterly they are demonstrating the things, so that at least we are also able to see how much they have learned. And even we are discussing the things, or we are having this meeting also with the parents, where we are where the parents are also able to see what the child has learned so far. Right. So this is how we are started with the implementation process, sir. And it is, as I said, it is an ongoing process. Definitely we are still working on to this. And I think that still some more time will be required, because each and every student will require some time to think about it, to think upon the subject which they want to opt to. So we are giving them the chance. Every quarterly we are changing the students from one club to another club, so that at least find it out in which particular thing they all are interested. And definitely the school will not going to leave any stone unturned just to reach to our goal.
True that.
This is
Very
what I
nice.
would like to add up onto this. Thank you so much, sir.
Very nice. Very nice. Puneet ma'am, a simple question.
Yeah.
What are the new assessment criteria that have been used in NEP to gauge learning outcomes? What are your take?
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Sachin sir. Yes, NEP has changed tremendously the vision of assessment. We are passing through oral testing, writing testing, public examination, internal, external assessment. Then we have seen the continuous and comprehensive evaluation and competency-based assessment also. But now new education policy is emphasizing on transforming assessment for optimizing learning and development of all the students. Like many teachers are like regular and formative competency based, promoting learning and development of student. They are focusing on assessment for learning, not of learning, for learning. And NEP is also testing the higher order skills like analytic skills, critical thinking, and conceptual clarity. So it will help schools in revising their system of teaching also. Like the there is transformational culture like continuous tracking of learning outcome, which CBSE is always emphasizing on, that teaching should be based on learning outcome. Instead of content, we should focus on learning outcome. So they will be tracking it. The board examination is to be made more flexible with assessment of essential skills. And they will encourage the holistic development. And they will, NEP is emphasizing on the process in which the testing system will discourage the coaching culture, which we see that hubs of coaching are going everywhere. And the students will have freedom to choose range of subjects for which the child will be assessed. So they will test the core capacities and competencies of the children, not the content memorization. As NEP says that there will be 360-degree multi-dimensional report card, which will have the assessment by the students themselves, by the teachers, by the parents, and their peer groups also. So it will, the holistic development of the child will be taken care of. And as we have seen that examination pattern has changed. This year also we have seen that there is now this term 1 and term 2. So this process, it may continue because all students will be allowed to take board exams up to 2 occasions, during one main exam and then one for improvement, like CBSE is already declared for this, to eliminate the high risk, high stakes. And they are trying to reduce the pressure and the coaching culture. As I said, that board is thinking to develop modes of examination like annual semester, like this year we have, or modular board exams in certain subjects and question papers. Like this year they have taken it in 2 parts. One is totally objective based on MCQs, and other one will be totally descriptive. And there is some more things like as already artificial intelligence we are giving as a subject in our schools also, but the assessment to focus on core concepts, high orders, and artificial intelligence based software will be taken care of to help and track progress of students, to enable the to track the optimum level of the care so that students are able to take care of their career options. So they will be using artificial intelligence also to assess the children. Like National Assessment Center, Parak, which we all are aware of, it will bring greater synergy in board examination by conducting and synergizing various boards. They will combine together so that the same level of assessment is going throughout. Like CBSE conducting, other boards will also assess on the same areas.
Right.
And National Testing Agency, as we have seen this year also, they are working for the aptitude test of high quality to eliminate the need of coaching for these exams. So all these things are happening, and I hope that this system, because I'm happy that these things are coming, because they will take a 360 turn from memory to conceptual, which is much more required, as we see in the open market, that our children who are able to score more than 95%, but when they enter into professional colleges, they are not able to get what they want to, because they focus only on the marks, only on the memory. Now this thing will change, and we will see that concepts of the children will be more clear, and the competency based assessment is definitely going to help our children. Though CBSE has started it in a very random way, I wish that they could have started in a phase wise, so that teachers are well prepared and students are also mentally prepared for such types of questions. This was much required, but it has come, and we have taken care. Let's see the things go in a smooth way. Thank you so much.
Very right. And role of NTA, and of course, it's going to be much critical in the way forward situation. I truly agree with you. Ashu ma'am, now since we have discussed NAP at length, my basic question comes around the implementation, and the point that I love is experiential learning, because this is what I believe is the wholesome game changing aspect. So how are you fulfilling project work focused experiential learning at your school, or what would be your advice? Please unmute. It's not unmuted, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you, sir, for choosing me for this very good platform. First of all, as we all know, what is experiential learning is to learn by hand, it's a first-hand experience. The children should learn by their own. So it's a concrete experience, then their reflective observation, and then abstract conceptualization, and then experimentation. So first of all, what we are implementing in our schools is at the primary level, the teacher is explaining the chapter in a story way. It's not that the teacher is just emphasizing on the chapter to be completed. The whole chapter is turned into the story, so that in the play way, in the characters or the students, they are playing the characters of the story, and the class is involved in the chapter. It's not only just the teacher is dictating the chapter and the students are just reading and the question answers they are doing. So the concept of the chapter is to understand what is the morale of the chapter, what the chapter is giving to them. And in that way also the grammar skills are also included in that. So that's just find out the ED words, to find out the opposites, and then, so it's a very communicative development, communicative skills approach with the chapters. Also, we are doing project-based we are university unity in diversity. For example, we have done with the students about the different states. So we have given the project to them. So 4 states we selected from the north, east, west, south. So one state we selected, and the students, they do the research for the costumes, for the food, and for the dances. And then after that, the whole thing is collaborated, and they presented all the things in the assembly. So along with the state knowledge, they have learned about the dance forms, various dance forms, various uniforms, their dresses forms, and their food items. So this way, by the project-based learning, the students, what the history is that social science is a very typical and very tough subject for the students. But this make them easier to learn about the different states in a very easy way. Similarly, we are doing that, taking students to the places. For suppose they want to know how the animals are behaving, how the animals are walking. So we are taking them to zoo so that they can observe them, learn their movements, and rather than just writing in the monkey's whoops or the dog barks, instead of that, they are hands-on experience. They are just watching them and they are imbibing the things. And also we are doing with the garden. Thus we are visiting the students, taking them to the garden. The teacher, the science, suppose the EVS teacher, she wanted them to teach the leaves. So it's not that the different types of leaves to be taught in the class only. The teacher will take them to the garden. Different types of trees, different types of leaves are there, so that the students can watch them, learn them. So various different ways we are inculcating in our system, so that rather than just the students, they not only learn only the book things, they are learning by the practical way. And we hope that this system, and moreover that our teachers need to be trained for also that, for this, because NEP involves that the teacher should know much more ahead. She should be more creative. She should be more trained in her own way, not only the formal training she needs. If
Right.
the teacher is coming into this profession, she should be mentally prepared that what the child is needed, she should know. That psychology and counseling, everything the teacher should know. That if she enters into the classroom, she is not entering only to finish the syllabus. She is entering into the classroom to just to change the student, what they are coming from for their growth, from their 1-year growth. So hands-on experience are the best things we are providing in our school.
Perfect. Very much right, and it makes sense. Renu ma'am, what are your thoughts on experiential learning?
Yes, sir. So when we say this word experiential learning, I think it is already in practice. Like most of the schools, they are rigorously working on this and putting their brains to get some new ideas, innovative things, critical thinking, holistic approach. I mean, these are the words which are everywhere. Right. So now it is already included in the NEP, the new education policy, and it speaks volume about it. I mean, the way it is, the description is given in the entire policy is amazing. So now if we have to just speak this word experiential learning, it speaks about hands-on learning, learning by doing, and a lot of practical approach. And it also includes hundreds of ways which is there, and like, academic simulation. So how we are practicing this in our school? Like, first of all, I'll just take the right example, the way we are practicing in our school. So whenever we plan the entire curriculum, the lesson, the syllabus for the entire year, or monthly basis or weekly basis, we just keep on revising and adding on things. So what we do is, we just, at times, it is for the lower grades, we create theme based. So theme based, the theme of the month, and we integrate the subjects to, wherein it is integrated with the arts, science, maths, all the subjects. So it is properly designed in a fashion, in a way that it will give the right outcome. So if you are teaching science, we will take them to the school is quite big. They have all the different laboratories and other fields. So we take them to the field, and we just see to that learning, they're understanding the plants, they are looking. So we have medicinal garden, which is created by the kids. So all the kind of medicinal plants are there, planted by the kids, and then they read about it. They have labeled it. Okay, this is Tulsi, this is like n number of plants. So we take them on a field trip, on a round. So this is very much feasible for them. So it remains forever. Okay, now these are the benefits of these plants. So first of all, when they're putting it in the soil, they're growing it, they see all the entire process. So here we are teaching what is seedling, how to go for the plantation. So science is also there. When we ask them, okay, now just go to your art class and draw a diagram based on this. So they draw also. So this is something which, and when they go for a field trip, it is again something by watching, by touching, by feeling, by being in the environment, they learn it. like the concept is clear. So this is one way. For a higher standard, if I'm speaking, again, we have labs and all. But again, labs at times, you need to relate. It should be always relatable. Students relatable. Theory will not be sufficient. It is required. But again, I think, suppose, first say, if the child has to create a plane. So what kind of activities we can provide in the classroom? So initially, if suppose for say class 6th or 7th, and we are teaching them exactly what is like flying. So here, okay, let us do some activities. So here sports can take part of in that. They will start teaching, okay, how to fly, show your wings, which bird you can connect with this kind of activity. Later on, we switch to, okay, now you can create with some origami, some craft work. So they can create with, a small plane. Now you start playing with it. So all the children, when they're playing in the classroom, now we ask them, go for the maths integration. So measure the length, how much it was. Then again, we go for the second aspect, which is if we have read about David Kolb's the cycle, which speaks about action, reflection, then conceptualization, and last is application. So those 4 stages are very important. So we just see to it that children are reflecting on it. They share their reflection on it, and they make the correction. Here the teachers also, they play a vital role because they have experience. So they just guide the children. Okay, now next is to revise it and see where did you do the mistake, why you couldn't, your plane did not fly properly, the paper plane. So in that case, again, they make some changes, they make some other things, and then again we ask them to do it, and later on we just connect with the theory part. So here the theory and audiovisual, if it is required, the parts of the plane and all. And then we go to the concrete subject. So at least they understood what is physics, what is maths behind it, what is even the craft, the artwork, the physical activity. So this is a kind of integrated learning. So this is actually based on your pre-planned or proactively planned lesson plans, which is done in the beginning, or maybe like we do it quarterly also at times. But yes, the framework is already created in the beginning of the. So there are n number of programs we run with, and several. So now here it is, we all are promoting a lot of technology. It's a year of technology. 21st century means most of the things based on technology. So again, on a lot of things with the, coding is there, artificial intelligence is there. Again, we talk about robotics. So these are very important, wherein the children, they do and then they learn. So it is, all the time the connectivity is there. So whenever they go for these classes, they are more interested. Instead of just listening one way, one directional, conventional way of teaching is actually very much discouraged. And it should be a lot of involvement. Suppose, for say example, one more thing we have just done, MUN. So MUN, wherein the children, they are just taking, it's a parliament is created, or maybe any topic which is involved. Here the children, they are participating, and they are doing the research work on their own. Research work is also something very, very important, because they learn the writing, the speaking, the public speaking. So all the different, what is the objective and what is the outcome? Both the things are taken care very well whenever we perform any activities, and it is dead sure for us to have an activity-based learning in the school for all the chapters. It is a must. When we plan, we ask the teachers to share the ideas. Though it is very open-ended, we cannot impose, okay, if the child, it is again a platform wherein you cannot say that, okay, child is not allowed to think. Let the child think on his own way. We'll just tell them how to think. But again, what to think, that child has to find out, and he will just use his brains, and maybe he will get a better idea and share with them. So this is something which is very interesting, and we keep on doing, and I think it is working well.
Perfectly, and definitely this makes sense, and it brings me another question to Oshima ma'am, to you. We've discussed a lot about optimization, learning, and so on. But my basic query comes when it comes to innovation at the schools. So there are, of course, a lot of problems. Be it one stakeholder is, of course, a parent who is just after the marks and want to score that. Student themselves are not being able to get out of it. So what are the innovative solutions that you are implementing at the school level while achieving this objective?
Okay, yeah, it's a very, very important question, and that brings me to the fact of the aim and the objective of our education. Now, new education policy, for years together we have tried developing the mind, the head, So there are basically three, I would say, three H's of education. So education of the head, education of the heart, and education of hand. So now with policy coming, new policy coming in, everybody is after now, okay, with hand. We must work with hand. So somewhere I feel that we have left out the heart, which is the basic. This is why, see, our system, our whole society will come crumbling down if we do not take care of the heart part of the education. Means that we have to imbibe the value of caring for the other human being, the empathy, the sympathy, the giving back to the society. If we do not take care of that part of our education, somewhere we'll be very, very big failures. So our education has to be in such a way that our children go outside of the school boundary and help out, see the real world, how the people live in. We are very secluded. We are within our four walls. We don't see what is happening outside. Our parents are also very protective parentage we've got. No, don't mingle with that. Don't see this. Oh, this is not right. Close your eyes. This is not for you. You belong to this class. So that kind of a thing is coming into our system, which is very, very harmful. So what we need right now is we need to let our children see and then work accordingly. This present generation, the generation of our children, I'm very happy to note that they are very evolved generation. They are not the ones who would call names, who would who would try to harm anybody. They are they are actually the whole world citizens, global citizens. They already think that all of us are we and we are everybody. That kind of a mentality they had. So that's a very happy thing to note. So I would again make the point that the education has to be of heart, head, heart, and hand. So now coming to your question, where the parents feel that this parents are the stakeholders and whether they are coming along. I am if we have our system in such a way that there is total transparency in the system, what we are doing as a school, what do we do as teachers, admin, and the school system? Our effort is to provide the best to our children. And if the parents know the intentions with which we are working, I think they go in all in. They help out in all possible ways and make things easier. In fact, provide solutions. So that's what we do. We have regular PTA executive committee meetings. We have regular connection with the parents, and they work beautifully with the school system and sort out so many of our issues and problems. And they are with us. That's one. Now, second is, this was about one of the innovations and problems and solutions. Another thing which is very important here is in the haste of implementing NEP, what is happening is at times we feel, okay, we need to teach our children how to attempt MCQs. So first term. Now what has happened? See the other side of it. Very good. It's a laudable effort by CBSE to start with the first term exams in MCQ form. But see how it has happened. Suddenly it's announced that MCQ first term will be there. So what did we do? We divided the book into two parts. The first part we said, okay, MCQ. The second part we said, it will be subject based. I mean, the conventional kind of a question paper, subjective. Now, what happens is how should we divide the syllabus for MCQs and subjective type, depending upon the kind of chapter it is. Some chapters we may need the child to actually develop the writing skill for, to see that chapter in different comprehension. So it is not the number, first 10 will come in this and the next 10 will come in this. No, it has to be, we have to go slow. We have to involve all our teachers. We have to involve our faculty and then decide what subject to be, what type of questions should be given in this particular chapters. What type, another type can be given in this. So there is no haste. If we go step by step, of course, it's a huge challenge to implement the policy because it's a wonderful document. But if we go by in haste, what will happen is, what is the approximately we need to develop and we need to start 50 schools in a week if we go by the numbers. So it's not numbers that we're talking about. See the spirit of NEP. The spirit is that we have to develop an education system in which our children are equipped with the 21st century skills, like problem solving, all the skills are known to us.
Right.
So what we should do is we should not haste. We should not be in any haste. We should properly develop, and in patience, with patience, we should develop a system so that we are able to give the best to our children. So that's
Sure.
what my take on it is.
Perfectly. Dr. Priya, what is your take? Please unmute. Uh, Dr. Priya? Unmute yourself. I think we have lost. Dr. Priya, can you hear me? Meanwhile, she rectified the technical aspect. Let's move on to Puneet, ma'am, to you. At a point where we are struggling to provide no even access to education to the rural students having no mobiles to study, this gap has widened. What are your thoughts to address this challenge of rural?
We need to understand the requirement of particular child, because not only we have to strengthen their education, we have to strengthen their well-being also, and like improving their non-cognitive skills and mindset also. We have seen that there is a digital gap, which I can say that 63% worldwide. That is digital gap, because not all students, as you said, have access to internet, Wi-Fi, and various gadgets, which in rural areas, and due to some financial conditions also, the students have faced it, and the gap has deepened, because the COVID, which we were just thinking that it will be for 1 year, now it has extended to 2-year gap now, approximately, for the child. This gap, and this is deepening with every day passing. So we need to do firstly check their mindset, and secondly we have to be realistic in approach. First of all, we need, when the student comes to, in case student comes to school, we have to first check their previous assessment, where the student was and where the student is now. We have to identify the student and goal setting for the student. We have to identify the target student and diagnose learning needs. We have to monitor student progress to ensure that there is intervention at right time, at right place, where the student is standing. So that within this gap, which has deepened for 2 years, with time, with months time, 2 months, even we can take 6 months time to just narrow this gap. And moreover, capacity building among educators is important, like teachers. We have to empower our staff who are directly involved with students. We have to include them. We have to build their capacity building programs. And we can, by fostering the positive attitude in teachers, they will be able to foster that positive attitude in students. And we have to again narrow the gap between home and the school. Like we have to continuously interact with parents to know the reality of the child. So I can say that there are 3 key policies which can be initiated. Number 1, personalized learning interventions. There has to be highly sensitive to individual needs and demands of the student, and that has to be adapted, so that there is a little difference in the gap between different learners. Like we have to be both collaborative and autonomous learning opportunities to each learner based on the outcome, learning outcome, as always defined by the CBSE and various educational systems. Intervention approach of this nature, which will be based on the learning outcome, will include developing individualized learning, providing one-on-one learning, or very small gap coaching or tuitions, and providing flexible learning options, pathways for the students. Secondly, we can have this additional or specialized instructions for certain students. Like we have to address a particular need of individual or small group of levels, like we have child with special need, or we have gifted children in our school. So we have to, for those children, we may need to increase our teaching time or instructional time, which we say we may have to increase, or we may have to employ specially trained professional to narrow this gap. And one more thing which we can do is that peer education we can follow, so that the student, because in this age group of the students, they more rely on their friends and peers, and they listen to them more and they believe in them. So we can have that thing, that peer education groups can be formed, those who can help to just narrow this learning gaps. And moreover, additional resource based on student needs can be taken care of. So to address inequalities in the context of resources which have certain in the education system, schools can have a direct additional finances to these children. They can help, like various schools have taken this initiative to provide certain gadgets like tablets and mobiles, and there are certain CSRs and welfare schemes taken by various schools, so that to encourage more human resources where the demand is highest. And by this way, they can just equalize the learning opportunities for students. And moreover, the teachers have a great task at their hand when the students will come to school, because what I visualizing when I saw my class 10 students when they came for examination, I felt as if class 8 student is directly appearing in class 10 examination, because of that huge gap between, because they were not able to understand the concepts of this examination system, because they had not gone through this, though many schools had given that pre-coaching sample papers and helping them with various assessment tools. So all these things we need to take care of. And moreover, we have to, when child comes to school, we have to first assess where the level of student is, so that where the right intervention has to take place. That is more important. Then only we will be able to help every child.
Very nice. I mean, that's absolutely should be the way forward. Coming to Ashu ma'am, to you, I would like to impose a very important question to you in terms of primary education. Don't you think we still use outdated methods to teach open learning? It still looks a dream. No. What are the challenges? Why we don't adopt the open learning at the school level?
Actually, the main problem is mainly the age factor. In the rural areas, the parents, they register this at the age of student for the 5 and 6 years, and they don't want them to be in their nursery KG class. They just want it into the first or second standard, because according to them, the age is very big criteria over there. हमारा बच्चा 2 साल तो रहा घर पे, अब उसको आप केजी में रखोगे, प्रेप में रखोगे, be in class 1 or 2. What we are facing today is in this after this COVID situation, that the many parents, they educate their child at home. They don't want to pay the fee for the KG and prep. And when the school reopens in the September, October, that child is admitted to class 1 without having any basic knowledge. And if we convince them, no, because he or she needs the basic knowledge, parents, they are not at all accepting that thing. ये 6 साल का है, 7 साल का है, अभी से आप इसमें रखोगे, आप नहीं लेते तो हम दूसरे स्कूल में करा देंगे. So many people are taking the admissions without having, they don't have the reading identification problem, their reading problem the students are facing. And what my experience is that this COVID actually affects that primary education. We are trying to enforce the NEP, but the major problem comes is this COVID actually थोड़ा सा backstage लिया है इस NEP को. We still need a year ahead to incorporate this NEP into our system, into our school system, because the schools are reopened in the mid of the session, actually end of the session. Only the 3-month studies are further, and from the April new session will start. And by that time, what we are facing is to complete the syllabus, of the schools, because the parent did not want their child to admit उसको पीछे जाना है या उसको हम प्रमोट नहीं करेंगे बिकॉज उसको नॉलेज नहीं है, बिकॉज दे वांट कि उनका बच्चा नेक्स्ट क्लास में जाए without giving boards when the class 10th and 12th student they are passed. So वो कहते हैं कि आप हमारे बच्चे को कैसे पीछे रखेंगे. So that is the major challenge we are facing in the primary classes also.
I understand. Perfect. Dr. Priya would like to comment on this.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, actually there was some issues with internet. I'm so sorry about that.
No problem.
Sir, as we were discussing about the innovation which has been there for the schools and the problems which we are facing and the solutions. Now, very first thing which comes to our mind is like, what is that innovation? It is exactly generating the new ideas, thinking out of the box, and that too only with one intention: how to see the overall growth of a child, which we have seen that through national education policy. Definitely they are providing us with the quality education. But as ma'am said, and she is right, like just due to COVID, we are not I can say that we are 1.5 years, back. The reason is like from last 1.5 years, the COVID or pandemic has started, we were not able to provide the physical education to the students. And nobody was aware that how to impart the education, which is the need of the student, and we cannot leave them like that. So we came up with the new innovations. We came up with different platforms. You can say that is a virtual platforms, maybe Zoom. Some of them were using the Google Meet or the Microsoft Teams. So these were the different tools which were being used to educate the student or to impart the education to the students. Thus, that education should not be hampered. Even we have tried to give all the activities, as I have discussed earlier, like the art integration activity as well as the subject enrichment activity. All we have done it through the virtual platform. But yes, definitely at the same time, we need the training. We have done the training for the teachers as well as for the parents and the students. And now I can say that subsequently after 1.5 years, the teachers now they are well equipped with all these platforms, and they are able to take the classes whenever the need is. So the tools which we were taken, as I discussed with you, these are the virtual tools, or you can say the virtual learning hubs were also there. But at the same time, what I have seen that during this time, you can say 1.5 years of time span, I have thought that it is required by the school also to adopt certain culture, and that culture should be acceptable and it should be flexible. Now, if I'm talking about the culture, the very first culture which comes to my mind is to provide the freedom to explore. Like now the students, they all are aware about the internet, all the technologies. So we are providing the students to explore the subjects. Teachers themselves, they are also exploring. They are coming up with the new ideas. They are coming with the presentations. They are coming up with the new videos to share with the students. When they were not able to do when the classes they were offline. So now the children, they are also utilizing those tools, and they are exploring the subjects. And I think in that way they are learning much better. They are able to cope up the things much better whenever we are giving them the questions. Like either in the form of the UTs, or we can say half-yearly examinations, we are inculcating the MCQ patterns too, and first number of things we are inculcating in the paper, and the students, they are able to do so. And thanks to this platform, I can say, where the students nowadays, they are exploring also out, and they're thinking out of the box. This is one of the innovation which I have seen. Secondly, we are also encouraging the students to take different courses. See, previously, students, they were coming to the school, they were taking the classes online, going back home, having their lunch, going for the tuition classes, coming back, then number of homeworks, everything was there. They were not getting that much of time. But now they are saving a little bit of time. So we are asking them that utilize that time and go for certain types of the projects, go for different types of, these virtual classes, or to undertake different types of the courses. And definitely that has even helped the students to learn the subjects much better, not only the subjects, but the other things also. I'm not saying that you have to think about science only, about maths only. Yes, vocational subjects are also there, which is new to them. We are asking them to explore the things, and definitely they are coming up and getting the things. They are able to explain, and they are able to give the presentations also to the juniors. So I think in this way, it has helped us a lot. This virtual platform has really helped us a lot.
Right.
And in between, we are giving the training to the teachers also, that they should also come up with different goals, different virtual, you can say, new ideas also, so that it becomes easier for them also to take the classes in a better way, and to, impart education also in a much better way as it is required by the NAP. But yes, definitely, whenever we are doing all these type of innovations, we are coming up with different types of problems also. The very first problem which I have seen in particularly in my school, that is, the parents sometimes they are very much busy, especially in the primary classes, or you can say in the nursery classes. Both of the parents are working, and they are not able to sit with the student. So in that case, we can't leave the children like that. Definitely, we have to impart education to them also. So in that case, what we did, we had a meeting with the parents. Then we took the time, that by what time you will be free, so that at least you will be able to sit with your child. So accordingly, we have framed the timetable in such a way that it is adaptable by the teachers also, adaptable by the parents also, and we are imparting the classes to them during the, you can say, evening hours, 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, whatever time is feasible for them. So in that way, we are continuing with the progress of the child, as well as we are continuously we are imparting the education also to the child.
Right.
Second aspect which I have seen, the second problem which I have seen is definitely, though the teachers, parents, children, they all are new to this virtual platform, if I'm talking in terms of education. So whatever we are saying, that is okay. But when it comes to the action, there I have seen that little bit of hazards are there. Some of the children are not able to do that. So in that case, what I think, that more training is still required. It is not like that I can say, yes, definitely everything is being done and everything is like going on perfect. Yes, little bit of much more training is being required, even for the teachers as well as for the parents and the children. So and if we all are working in a same platform, and the training is being given, definitely we can go for the holistic development of the child.
Perfect.
Thirdly comes the where the meeting part is there. So whenever the meeting is also going on, sometimes due to some or the other technical errors, the meeting gets failed, and this is again a hazard to the innovation. So in that case, we can say, fine, we can develop a plan, develop the timetable, the curriculum, set curriculum, and then we can just share it with the teachers or with the parents first. Then we can go for the meeting, so that our time also gets saved, and if there is any technical errors, that also can be avoided. The
Makes sense.
last but not the least is the set curriculum. See, sometimes what I have seen, the curriculum is being set. So in that case, we are not able to see the capability or the capacity of the teachers. So it should be a little bit flexible, so that at least the teacher, they can also explore, they can also come up with the new ideas. Definitely, it's not like that whatever ideas they are coming up, we're going to implement that. We have to go through it, see what exactly they have made it as per the NAP, and whether it is activity based, whether it is experimental based, whether it is added value addition is there or not. And then I think in that way we can provide the best education which we want for our children. This is what I can add from my end, sir. Thank you so much.
This is definitely, and two key points from this discussion that I have been really identified is the parents. I think before starting the student counseling, I think that high time has come where we should start parent counseling more than the student counseling, to get the desired impact. But what I feel so from this discussion. With the closing note, before I leave all of you, I would like to have one word answer from each one of you, giving an understanding to us. Suppose giving you a liberty to implement one thing, one thing that you would like to do as a nation education minister, or maybe anything you would like to say. What is the one thing that you would like to implement in the education system? Starting with Puneet ma'am, with you. Puneet ma'am, can you hear me? I think her system is logged. Renu ma'am, if I can come to you.
If you can just help me to repeat the last statement. I missed out because somebody has come.
Being an education minister of India, what is the one thing you would like to implement in the Indian education system to bring the desired impact? We are not in top 100 of world education. What is your take? What is the one thing you would like to implement?
See, sir, I would say definitely whatever the changes which are we are going to implement for a longer, definitely by 2020, if it is implemented in very seriously and wholeheartedly, it is going to work, and India will become knowledge of hub by 2030. This is how it is being expected. But still, I think they have included maximum points, which is the very important, that rote learning has to be, yeah. I missed out something. I think I missed out the point.
Simple.
Yeah. Yes. You need one suggestion.
Yeah.
I would go for practical approach and lot of liberty in the learning ways.
Yes.
Okay, liberty is the key point I would pick up. Dr.
Yes.
Priya, from you.
Sir, what I think that experimental based learning to be there.
Practical
And
project.
yes, little bit of flexibility to be given to frame the curriculum.
Oh, interesting. Oshima ma'am, to you.
Yes, so if I'm given a chance to be the education minister, what I'll do is, instead of 6% of GDP, I would give maybe 50%, because it's
Oh.
very long time. I think it's time that we be impatient to implement all the tenets of NEP, because we all need it, and we severely need it. We are in a time of learning crisis. We must overcome it as early as possible. So my take would be, give so much that it is implemented maybe in a year or so.
True that. Understand. Valid point, in fact. Ashu ma'am, your point.
Yeah, according to me, that it should reduce the cost of education, because India actually is the rural country. Many parents, they want their child to learn in a good institute, but the cost is so much high that many students, they lost the opportunities to study in the good institutions. So my takeaway is that the cost of education should be reduced.
Okay, Puneet ma'am, are you there with us? But I have a question here. I would like not like to leave you now. I have a question on this. Puneet ma'am, are you there with us? Okay, my query comes here to all of you here. Ashu ma'am mentioned about reducing the cost. We have government schools in our system, but the problem again comes out to be the same, that Delhi is becoming the implementable model for the rest of India, where Manish Sisodia is showing the way, be it entrepreneurship or be it anything. What happened to the government teachers? What happened to the government schools? What happened to the entrepreneurship aspect?
If the government teachers are doing their task well, now we don't need the private school actually, because actually private schools are doing very good job.
True.
It's incompatible. Government teachers, many observers, many invigilators, they are come to our school because of some many government exams are taking place in our schools. So many government teachers, they come, but their knowledge and private school knowledge, it's fast difference.
Perfect.
But still, yeah, we just want that every child should be educated. Every child should get the opportunity to get to have a good experience of the knowledge. But still, there is a very disparity between the fee structure and the private books. So that should be that. If I'm education minister, then I would, because as a principal, or I'm also working, I'm also doing the job. Obviously, I would like to get the proper amount for my work, but it should be, the disparity should be there, not be there.
Perfectly. And I'll self-ask myself, and I'll share my inputs to the discussion is, if given an opportunity to me, I would like to make an education absolutely free and accessible to all of one, and removing the reservation quota in India.
Yeah, the best
and
thing
I would allow the students or anyone to study as much as possible and get the job on their own credentials and the study that they do. So with this closing note, Puneet ma'am, there with us, if you can hear us, one comment from your side, please unmute.
If I have given the chance to change the education world, definitely I will focus more on concepts and more on skills, because ultimately that skills that matter at all. And if there is knowledge, then automatically things will fall in line. And of course, I will definitely vote for a free education and fair education for everyone around the world. Thank you so much. It was nice being on this platform. Thank you, Sachinji.
Great with me. Renu ma'am, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just telling, sir, nothing comes free. But still, I would like to tell you one thing, like privatize everything, things will be online. I think because the private schools are really putting their brains ahead. So yeah, sweat, yeah, that is the truth. Why government schools are, if you go to the rural area, I'm not talking about all the government schools, but yes, if you go to the rural areas, you can understand exactly what the children are getting. And the base, when the base is not well, constructed, or given the formative years are not done, taken care. So later on, they face, and there's a lot of problems the students they face. So let us privatize everything. Things will be okay. I'm sorry for my words, but still I feel that this is just.
One word I would like to say.
Agree with you, ma'am. Actually, the जो free है ना, जो free में मिलता है, उसकी कदर नहीं होती. कुछ तो लेना पड़ेगा.
Exactly, ma'am. That is what I want to say. But anyways, these are all the opinions we are sharing.
I would like to add that if the government schools at Delhi can be the best schools, then private schools. I'm not talking about the privatizing or government aided schools. I'm talking that every other school in every rural areas around India, they can be up to that standard if we can put our initiatives into it. And if we work together for it, I hope that every government school can be the best school, like we have schools in Delhi government schools.
Absolutely. So with this, we have come to a conclusive note of our wonderful discussion that I had with my esteemed panelists. The last learning that I would like to end with the session is the beautiful line shared by Oshima ma'am, is the head, heart, and hand. I think the cumulative efforts from all this is going to have a great education system and working for all of us. With this closing note, thank you so much, my esteemed panelists, for joining us today. I hope it was a wonderful discussion, discussing with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.